Hey folks, it's Lizzy from the Stanton Public Library, and I am back to tell you about 5 new young adult books I think you're going to enjoy. And we're going to kick it off with the new thriller from Barry Lyga. It's called Time Will Tell. Barry Lyga is best known for the I Hunt Killers trilogy, which is like a true crime kind of inspired series. But he also writes really great chapter books for kids about the Flash, the comic book character. Time Will Tell is another thriller, and this time it goes back and forth between modern day and the 1980s. It is about 4 kids who decide, for fun, to dig up their parents' time capsule from the 80s. And they're kind of just expecting to see like notes and posters and cassette tapes. But instead, they find a bloody hunting knife and a note that says, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kill anyone." So the story goes back and forth between modern day and the parents in the 1980s as teenagers, and it's really the unfolding of a mystery, but of course there's a lot more going on under the surface. I think if you like One of Us is Lying, you're going to really enjoy this book as well. Next up, we have a debut romantic comedy called The Jasmine Project by Meredith Ireland. If you have read everything that Jenny Han has and you are waiting for the Summer I Turned Pretty adaptation, this will definitely hold you over. The premise is a little bit silly, like with many rom-coms. The main character is Jasmine. She is graduating high school, and she is planning on moving in with her boyfriend, Paul, who's very beloved by her family, and attending community college. But everything falls apart when she catches Paul cheating on her, and the family is also devastated. So what they try to do is they kind of hatch this plan to try to set her up with like a nice boy in the Orlando area. And they do this kind of by inviting all of these eligible teen boys to her graduation party, hence the bachelorette part. But of course things don't go as planned. Of course her ex-boyfriend wants her back, and of course the family is way too involved. And so lots of kind of disasters and hijinks occur. If you kind of see on the front, there's lots of little texts from everyone in her family, her ex, the boys that she meets. So if you like these kind of family-driven, funny rom-coms, I think this one is going to be so fun to read. Definitely check it out. And now for something completely different, we have The Other Merlin by Robin Schneider. And I think this is going to be a series, so this is the first one. This takes place in Camelot. You have all of your kind of Arthurian legend characters. There's a sword in the stone, and there's Arthur and Merlin. And the main character of the story is Emery Merlin, who is the daughter of Merlin. And Merlin has disappeared. So when Prince Arthur comes to get a wizard for his court and means to take Emery's brother, she instead masquerades as her brother and goes to court. And so there is kind of this gender swapping thing. There's also some queer themes going on. And it also is very funny, and the humor is very modern. I think if you are a fan of In Other Lands by Sarah Reese Brennan, and you kind of like that tongue-in-cheek humor mixed with something classic or a folktale of some kind, this will be a great choice for you. Next, we have another debut novel. This is Within These Wicked Walls by Lauren Blackwood. And this is a gothic paranormal horror romance. It's actually inspired by Jane Eyre, which is a classic novel from the 1840s, and you don't have to have read that to understand this. It actually might be better if you haven't, so that you don't know about some of the twists and turns in this story. This story is about Andromeda, who is hired by people to basically rid their houses of evil spirits. She's like an exorcist. And she's hired by a young heir named Magnus Rochester to come and get rid of the spirits in his haunted house, essentially. And so there is this connection, romantic connection between them. So even as things get scarier and there's rooms filled with blood and there's all of these horrible images and ghosts, she decides to stay and help him. Lots of twists and turns, dark, kind of brooding romance. I think it's a lot of fun. Next up, we have Walls by L.M. Eliot. This is a historical fiction novel that takes place during the Cold War, so we're talking 1960, 1961, in East and West Berlin. You have 2 cousins who are the main characters. One of them, Drew, is like a high school baseball pitcher, an army brat who's just moved around a whole bunch and ends up in West Berlin. The other is a cousin named Matthias who lives in East Berlin, which is like totally bombed out and patrolled by secret police. And it's really about them communicating and kind of arguing different sides of what's going on around them, but bonding over their love of rock and roll music. The cool part about this is that within the story, there are also these sections that have maps, lots of graphics, photographs that tell you about what's going on, not only in Germany, but also around the world. So it gives you a really great historical context. I think this book is great. We don't have a ton of books about the Cold War yet in the young adult collection, so I hope you'll check this one out, and I'd love to hear what you think. Okay, friends, that is it for today. I've talked about 5 new young adult novels, but remember, there are lots of new young adult novels, graphic novels, nonfiction for teens in the young adult collection at the Stanton Public Library, so be sure to stop by and take a look. I'll see you again next month for another What's New in YA. Bye!